I definitely I watched Finding Nemo like 5 times with my cousins, and I wanted to die. I'm like, I never want to watch this movie ever again in my entire life. Please
Uh,
make it stop. Hey everyone, welcome to the CCPC podcast. I'm Eric, your host, and today for our guest we have Hwejean Jung. Hey Hwejean.
Hi, Eric. Thanks,
Uh,
guys, for having me.
no problem. Glad you're here. When you're in Korea, you're teaching English, right?
Yeah, I was in this part of this company that, okay, well, I can explain to you now because I have time. Because normally when I don't have time and people ask me what I did, I'm like, how do I explain this? But basically, that company was like an online English learning kind of thing company. And they were trying to advertise like conversational English rather than like sit down and like learn vocab, learn grammar, like stuff like that. So they would get English teachers from like, for example, like the Philippines or something. I don't know why the Philippines, but a lot of those English teachers were Filipino. And they would be their teachers and they would have conversational English with them. But I would just be the planner, like the middleman who like connects them and like makes their schedule and like guides them through the process and then keeps them accountable.
Hmm.
So I would be like, hey, like, how come you didn't show up to session? Or like, like make sure you're like going to session. Or if they ask me questions like, hey, how should I say this? Or how can I say this? Like I would be the one to answer and things like that. And so I didn't do direct teaching, but the only like direct teaching I did was we would do group study sessions where I would kind of be like it'd just be a group session where they can come and like they can come and I would do like activities and games and if they have questions regarding like grammar or conversational stuff, I would be like teaching them and helping them and stuff like that. So
And where were you in the country?
in Seoul,
In Seoul,
yeah.
okay. And you were there for less than a year,
Like a
right?
little yeah, like I would say like 10, 11
And
months.
so did you want to specifically come back to the States, or were you kind of forced to almost?
I actually was fine in Korea. In my opinion, like I got adjusted to Korea very well. And I was kind of scared that I could see myself like so I'm someone who wants to marry and have kids and stuff like that. And I could see myself like settling down there in terms of that part of my life. But I was like, oh my gosh, like is this what I want to do though? Because like
You don't even
I was
know for
born and raised
everything.
in the States and like I wanted to live in the States like as an in quotes like adult of like, post college. And so like amidst that, I asked my dad, I was like, hey dad, like when you came to America, like what were you thinking in your head? Like what was going on in your head because you came like in your mid 20s? And he was like, huh, I thought I would stay for 5 years and come back. But he literally like stayed there, like married, had children, raised the children, and so I was like, see, like I feel like that's what's gonna happen to me. And like I don't know if I want that. Like I don't know if I want to settle here, like settle down here. Because like my initial thought was like, oh, I'll give Korea like
A
at
chance.
least like 2, 3 years
Hmm.
and then decide. But if I did, I think I would definitely like be there forever kind of thing.
So you think less that you would want to be in America, so you are trying it now, or
I guess whatever I decide, like I just wanted to live here as like an adult, I guess.
just
Like,
see what it's like?
yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
because I think I would have regretted it if I didn't. And like later on, like I think that could have been like, ah, like if I went, like I wish I could
What
have, like,
if?
yeah, like, and so I was like, well, you know what? Like, I don't want that. So I'm gonna go back. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I kind of know what Korea is like, and I kind of low key liked it, and I would be fine living here
Hmm.
later on. So if I go back, then I can always come back
Yeah, because I remember when you left, I was like, oh, Hudgens probably leaving for forever.
forever.
And I was like, oh wait,
You're
there
back.
she's here. I was glad you're back, but I was definitely surprised.
Yeah. Because also when I left, it was such a big, like, oh my gosh, like I'm
Life
going to
change, right?
Korea. Like
Right.
I'm gonna be there. But then I came back and I was like, huh, JK.
What did you enjoy most about Korea? I mean, your time there.
Oh, definitely the
Of
food,
course, of
public
course,
transportation,
of course.
and I really loved like it's called like koin norebang, like the
Oh,
karaoke's,
right, right.
where it's like just a booth and like it's so cheap. Like, you just go like put a couple dollars and sing like few songs and like It was so fun. I loved it. I would like go there by myself, like after work. Like
Mm.
my mom would be like, "Why are you so late today?" I was like, no,
Singing by
nothing,
myself.
nothing. Like no reason. We just got off late today." Like
What about your least favorite things?
I remember in Korea, I was like, I just want to like see like a patch of grass, or like, I just want to like sit in a patch of grass because it's just so city. Like, because I was in Seoul and it's
Right,
like
right.
so city, like no like fields, like when you're driving or walking, like it's just there's no green. I was like, I just want to like smell grass.
Is it like less green than New York City? Is there no parks even, or is it
I
just
think
where you
there
grew up?
are parks, but it's just not the same because it's like made for that area. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. The no natural foliage and
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I mean, because it's probably only because I was in Seoul.
right,
Like,
the
yes.
most densely packed city in
Yes,
Korea.
but just like in general of like because we can walk like drive around with the windows down and randomly smell like oh like people cut grass today like that kind of thing. It's like the little things of like that. I was like I just want to smell or see like grass. Yeah.
What was the best food that you ate there in your shortish time?
Well, I don't know about best like food in particular, but I really love like street food, like kimbap, tteokbokki, sundae, like
I heard it died down a lot in like not popularity, but um that there's just not as much as there used to be.
yeah, so like the in terms of like street food style where it's just like a tent or like a truck or like a something like that, I think it has died down a bit, but just like in terms of like that food category in general, I really love and it's so cheap. Like you get a roll of like good kimbap, like our equivalent of what, like $2.
Dang.
Yeah. And
Get
like
that for like 10 bucks here.
yeah. And so I was just like, I love it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you felt so at home in Korea to me because I know when you grew up in a very non-Asian culture, right?
Yep.
Were you like the only Asian person? Is that what was it?
Yeah, so like my cousin and I grew up together and we were in the same grade. Him and I were like the only like East Asian people in our grade. Not that our grade was like huge, but still like very predominantly white population where I grew up. So like not much diversity. I could count on like one hand the number of like East Asians in my school.
Did you ever feel like you didn't fit in, or was it you just kind of assimilated almost into that
You
culture?
know, honestly, I think about this a lot. I like have never really experienced like that kind of like racism or anything. Or like I don't know, like I can't tell if I'm like subconsciously blocking it out cuz like I loved grade school. I loved where I grew up and like I never felt discriminated against. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
So the time that you were growing up, enjoyed, and also the time where you're in Korea, you also enjoyed, right?
Mhm.
Did you enjoy them for similar reasons, or do you think that you enjoy the pros of each differently?
I think I enjoyed the pros of each differently, but like it also might be because like I never had like a huge identity crisis in terms of my ethnicity. Because like I think growing up, I've always accepted that like I am going to be Korean and I am going to be American. Like that is something that will be like both a part of me. Obviously like appearance wise I'm Korean, but a lot of like, like cultural things or like just how I grew up, born and raised here. Like I've always like had accepted that, I guess. But also a good thing or a big reason of why I think I was able to have a good time in Korea was because like there was no language barrier and growing up, I was very involved in like Korean culture kind of things in terms of like the media. Like growing up, I only really watched Korean TV and like Korean dramas or like
Yeah.
K-pop stuff. I would always like dance and sing along to those things. And I knew a lot of the like cultural stuff. I think it has a lot to do with how my parents raised me and just going to a church that had both like first and second generation. Yeah, I think that's why I was able to like have a good time in Korea. And I just remember being in Korea, like driving from the airport to like what would be my house there. like I was like looking out the window and like everyone was Asian, so I was like, whoa, like this is weird.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel particularly pulled to either your Korean identity or your American identity, or is it kind of just the same thing?
I think most of the time it's the same, but there are like places or events or incidences where I kind of am like, oh, I feel more Korean or like I feel more American. I definitely felt more American in Korea.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Makes sense.
yeah, like even though people didn't look at me weirdly because physical appearance wise I'm Korean, so I blend in, right? I felt like I was looking at them weirdly because everyone's Korean. So I was like, whoa, like this is really different. Like I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't know, I can't tell if I like it or not because I like it because it's like cool because I've never experienced this in my like long term in my life before, but also it's like unfamiliar because I'm used to just seeing like people of all colors. So it's like, yeah.
So your church that you went to when you're growing up, did you have to drive pretty far for that, or was that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. It was
close?
like
Okay.
40 minutes
Okay. So
away.
when you went to, was college the first time then where you had a community who you lived with that was more predominantly Asian?
Yeah, because like even my church, it was in Midlothian. Even there it has a bit of a higher Korean population compared to like where I like my city that I lived in. And so like going to church, like my youth group friends were like the only kind of like Asian or Korean community that I was exposed to. And so we weren't like a huge like church or anything, so it was still like pretty limited and and like like you said we're not living together like so we just see each other like what twice a week max
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So yeah, college was the first time I experienced that and it was really funny because people from Nova experience a bigger like Asian community. So when they go to somewhere like William and Mary, they're like, "Oh, this is like predominantly white. Like
Right. It's
it's different." But for me, I was like, "Whoa, this is like the first time I'm having this type of Korean community where people are from different places and like I just get to be with them and like it's not like a we have to be with each other like a youth group. Like in
sure.
youth
Yeah,
group,
yeah,
like
yeah.
we kind of have to be with each other, but for this it's different. And so I really thought it was funny, like watching the contrast of that. And when people are like, William Mary's like so white, but
Yeah,
then
you're
I'm
like,
like,
really?
really?
Yeah.
Like this is pretty diverse to me because I came from a predominantly white town. So it's like, whoa.
Now having lived in Korea and going to college, do you think you could go back to living in your hometown, or do you think then it might feel a little bit awkward?
I think I could, but I do think it will be a little bit more awkward.
You'd probably prefer it now to have slightly more Asian population at least.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it, but I guess I do, or I guess I would. I don't know. I'm like thinking a lot on this because it's funny how you
It's not
mentioned that.
hypothetical, yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's funny how you mentioned that because like the last time I went, I did kind of think about that more. Like I was kind of like, wow, Colonial Heights is like so white. Like like growing up, I didn't think much about it because I was just enjoying life. Like growing up, I didn't really it it wasn't as like prevalent of a topic in my own head. But going back, I was like, huh. Like
Didn't know that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we are the only Asian people in here kind of thing. But it wasn't something like, oh yeah, like I'd never go back. Like I wouldn't mind going back and like having a family there. It says a lot, I guess, of how much I loved my childhood.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds
But
like you had
yeah,
a very fun childhood.
yeah.
There any particular fond memories you have of Colonial Heights?
Um, I wouldn't say Colonial Heights. I just think it's because
Childhood.
I just enjoyed like who I was with and the things that I did and stuff like that.
So more of the people than the
Yeah, I think
location.
I am a more like people person. Like in terms of like I get attached to like the people and that's why I get attached to that environment. But I am someone who does get attached to like that environment. Like I was when I graduated high school, I was like, "Oh, I'm so sad. Like I'm going to miss it so much." Like when I graduated college, I was like, "Oh, like I'm going to miss it so much." But a lot of people around me were like, "I'm ready to go. Like I'm
Yeah,
ready to
yeah.
graduate. Like I'm ready to adult. Like I'm ready to start life." And I was just like,
I kind of like
no,
it here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can we do a
yeah.
little
I was like,
longer?
I kind of wouldn't mind staying, but whatever.
Yeah.
And even Korea, like now that I've been back, I miss it a lot more than I thought I would. Like I thought I wouldn't really miss it as much as I do now, but I do miss it a lot.
And so it seems to me that you miss a lot of these for the connections you made there personally.
Yeah, I mean, probably because like if I had an awful time, like I
Right,
probably
right.
wouldn't be
So do you
attached to
think
it.
you could, well, I think you can make friends wherever you went personally, but do you think it's
Thanks, man.
you could do you think you could personally enjoy like pretty much anywhere you go because you say you were able to make those connections and you already knew that?
I think so because I think I'm the type of person that's like, well, I'm here, so might as well like
Make
make
the
the
most out of
best
it.
of it
Yeah, yeah.
because there's no point in like sulking about something because then like the only person that's not benefiting from that is me. So like if I'm at a place where I am newer or like I don't know, maybe I don't know anyone or more uncomfortable, but it's like a long-term thing, it's kind of like okay, enough like being shy or being like not shy, but just like being like an observer kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to put myself in now and just make the best out of it.
Yeah. When you're with your friends, would you be okay with just hanging out and talking, or do you feel like you would want to be doing things?
I am, like I mentioned before, I'm like very not a picky person.
Hmm.
So I can do anything.
Anything.
Yeah. Because when I think about it, I realized this at some point like early in college, like a lot of my like what I who I consider my best friends are introverted. And so, like, the friend that I talked about that I visit in Colonial Heights, she also went to William and Mary. And so during times like we would just be like, "Hey, you want to grab lunch today?" Be like, "Yeah," and we would not say a word and just eat and be like, "All right, gotta go to class. Like, see you next week." And like, but we would both enjoy that time and like I wouldn't think it's awkward or anything. But also I would have friends who are very like sporadic. Hey, like let's go to the beach tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And like I'd go to the beach tomorrow, have a blast. Like so I'm very like I can do whatever.
Hmm. That makes sense. Makes you a very good person to be friends with because you can do so many different things. I know you're really heavy into music, right? Both playing and writing.
Yeah, how did you know that?
Sorry, I may have gotten some help from some people. Where
Yeah.
did that come from? And do you still do that right now?
Um Honestly, I don't know where it came from, but I just remember when I was even in elementary school, I would like in quotes like make write songs or like make songs. Although like, you know, if you looked back at them, it'd just be like not it'd just be
Not
like
songs.
yeah, like not a song. But yeah, I am into music. I enjoy it a lot. Like I may not I'm not the best at it, but it's just it's something I like to do.
Like which instruments?
Um I guess like
I'm assuming vocalists because you do karaoke.
yeah, yeah. I primarily like to sing. I think it's just because like I can do it anytime, anywhere. Like I don't have to like pull out an instrument. But I was also a band person growing up. I took band middle through high school. My like primary instrument was flute.